First is to know what you want. What is it that you really want to achieve, and what is the quality of experience that you want to have? From there, we can set up and structure for some agents, right? So they want to do 100 transactions a year. You need to know why you want to get there, because that's a lot of work, but it can be done.
The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, we know you're ambitious, but are manual tasks like admin, lead generation, nurturing, and onboarding holding you back from truly scaling your business? Imagine saving dozens of hours every week, freeing you to deepen client relationships and execute high-impact strategy. Our clients aren't just imagining it. They're saving countless hours per week and doubling their revenue within months. We custom-build AI automation systems that eliminate the grind. From effortless lead generation and nurturing to seamless onboarding, we give you back the most valuable resource, your time, so you can focus on building those vital human connections and driving strategic growth. Stop letting repetitive tasks limit your potential. It's time to build a business that works for you, not the other way around. Ready to unlock your true scaling power? Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free AI audit call today to discover how you can save time and double your revenue. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Intelligence Forge YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode.
Transforming real estate team chaos into scalable system through agent admin collaboration. Welcome to the Intelligence Forge. My name is Emmanuel. I'm thrilled today to have Kathleen. Thank you so much for joining us today to share your expertise with our audience.
Oh, my great pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. Appreciate it.
All right. I would love you to start by introducing yourself, Cambium, and what you do in your own world. What's the story behind the company and your mission?
I am celebrating 23 years in the real estate industry, and I started by being invited by an agent to help her out. So this is my second career. My first career was in the retail industry, and I had just closed a business, and the woman who owned my apartment building I lived in San Francisco happened to be one of the top 10 real estate agents in the city, unbeknownst to me. And I started as her assistant and then became licensed and then became an agent. And then I moved across the country to be near my family. That's now 18 years ago, and worked for a real estate coach, sort of coincidentally, who after 6 years really encouraged me to take my background in human resources, recruiting and training, my experience as an assistant, my experience as an agent, and help real estate agents build a foundation for their operations. So now I'm going into my 13th year of having a coaching and training company, and I named the company Cambium because Cambium, spelled with a C, is the layer underneath the bark of a tree that provides the tree with oxygen and nutrients for it to grow and thrive throughout its lifetime.
Okay.
We work exclusively in the real estate industry, and what I got to see over the years is real estate agents learn the skills of how to sell. And if they get really good at how to sell, then they end up needing operational support because they become so successful. There's a lot of paperwork in the real estate industry, and there's a lot of steps and a lot of process and a lot of communication. And so underneath the sales function is what I've framed our success formula. What's your workflow? What's your teamwork? What's happening with your finances? And that is the Cambium underneath this nail function. So my mission really is to bring a sense of order and a sense of balance is a dangerous word, but I would say a certain choreography to the world between sales and operations so that real estate agents and the people who work alongside them can actually thrive and enjoy the success that they're having instead of the chaos and spinning, which can happen without any infrastructure because they want to give great service. And without infrastructure, that great service turns into burnout.
I know. Well, thanks for sharing the details. I think it really makes sense what you're doing, and I think you have a lot of value. But as you go along, you'll be able to expand into some of the details of what your work also entails. But I would like to know some of your success story because I like to start with that also. What's happening in terms of success stories, client wins that you're having in your company right now that you want to share with us?
Sure. So, very often the motivation for an agent to want to work with me is as their coach is that they may have staff members that are not performing the way they need them to, or they may not have as much profitability as they would like because they're having a high level of expense in order to get their business done. So one client that I'm working with had a long-term employee, but she was going to move away. And so therefore we had to prepare for business in order to find out, well, what is this assistant doing? What administrative function do they operate? Is it one person who's going to replace them or two? And so it turned out it was one person because they already had a second. And so then we clarified the job. Then she interviewed people for the job. And then I worked with her to help onboard this person, to get them trained well, to make sure that the communication was in good alignment. And then came the big test of, okay, now the transactions are coming through. So how is the assembly line working between the agent that gets the deal, the marketing person who launches the deal, and then the operations person who's in charge of communication and working with vendors? And so then it becomes this dance. And so the big test was that the agent went out of the country on a trip with her family for, I want to say it was 14 days.
Wow.
And the business ran beautifully. Now, she worked from out of the country, right? She made phone calls and checked email, and we set up a schedule because I think her time zone was going to be 9 hours difference.
Okay.
She was going to be 9 hours ahead of her staff. And so they set up a schedule, and she was able to enjoy her vacation. She launched transactions, closed transactions while being out of the country with someone who'd only been on the job for, I want to say, about 90 days. And so it worked out beautifully. So they're still going and we're still working together. I have another client who has been in business a long time, is very successful, and had employees as a part of his business. And his profitability was slim, and that he realized that he really would prefer to sell more on his own and have more agents work with him and have his support be independent contractors that he collaborated with, and really then be able to sort of deconstruct what he had constructed. And he has great value for the people that have been employees. So we went through the exercise of making sure to talk to his accountant and his lawyer. And he's working in the state of California. And so that requires very explicit labor law research to make sure that everything was going to be done well, and wanted to make sure that the people who've been employees were able to have a smooth transition, whether they wanted to stay and open their own business and work as a collaborator, or if they wanted to go do something different. So we created a 90-day transition period. We created a whole new profit structure. So this has gone from 30% to 60% profit in basically 2 months of restructuring things, and everyone who was working together can still work together. So it has really salvaged well the relationships, but also looked at the personal and professional goals of the founder to then be able to have the next several years, 5 to 10 years of his working life, achieve the goals that are most important to him and his family. And so those are two that I'm working on right now that have gone very well.
Wow, that's fantastic news. I'm always excited to hear this kind of success story, but thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. I just want to know what specific AI tool or technology are you currently using in your company to streamline your coaching practice or to help your client optimize their operation?
So I personally use ChatGPT to help me write curriculum, write out agendas. We also recommend our clients, if they're doing a lot of research, use Perplexity to be able to evaluate different kinds of data. And then inside the workflow of a real estate business, there are a variety of automations that can be done, which is similar but different. I'm not sure if that's what you're also asking about. is to be able to start to look at the tasks that need to be done, and are they something that has to be done live, in person, remotely, with a template, automated, or something that is actually like answering questions on a website with a bot. So really has that sort of fanned out evaluation to then see, okay, what is the best mechanism in order to get this done? And what is the highest and best use of the people who are engaged in the business?
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, it's better to start somewhere and then you can start graduating, improving in terms of the technology that you are using. But I think I'm really excited that at least you're using something. Okay. If you could wave a magic wand, this question everyone gets to answer. All right. If you have a magic wand and you could instantly improve one thing about how real estate teams operate, or even your own company's operation, what will it be and why?
I would wave the magic wand over how people are able to spend their time.
Okay.
So I'm the big people person. So my gifting in my coaching is really looking at both the practical side of the business and the human side of the business.
Okay.
And with the level of compassion and empathy that I utilize in my everyday life and in my work as a coach, what I see is the price that some people pay unconsciously for how their time is used in their work and how their family may suffer for that. And that's why I say balance is not always the way it is, because sometimes you work really hard and you don't have a lot of personal time, and that's okay. But that overall of the magic wand would really be about the highest and best use of time that has the greatest satisfaction.
Wow. I totally agree with you that the way we spend our time is very important, because we don't want to be spending time on things that are not giving us value. We don't want to be spending time on things that, other people or something could take care of. We want to make sure that if we spend in 1 hour, it's quality. We could be able to, sum it up and say, this is what I've done with this 1 hour. But talking about, spending time, you work in an industry that requires a lot of manual work, repetitive work. The real estate professionals, they are drowning in some manual, repetitive tasks. Do you believe if maybe some of your clients, maybe all of your clients are able to automate some of their processes? Some transactional coordination, follow-up, data entry, name it, some of those things. Do you think there will be some significant advantage, just like you mentioned now, in their life, in their business? Maybe some of these could even translate into revenue increase for them. What's your thought?
Yes, absolutely. We're always talking about the trade-off of time and effort and value. A colleague of mine, Margaret Smith, who has the podcast I Love It When, and she uses the expression, the popsicle stick exercise, where on a popsicle stick, you can write down everything that you have to do as a task in everything that you're doing in your business. And you start to stack them up in categories. And so you can tactile feel how big is this stack and how much effort is this? And then where could I automate this? Where could I have another form of what we refer to as leverage?
Okay.
So that then the trade-off becomes, what are you going to do with the time that you're not doing that? And in the competitive industry of real estate sales, that time is often used in networking, making a new connection, meeting face with someone, making a phone call, so that they're always in a sales function, reaching forward to the next deal. And then what can you delegate about the current deal, and what can you automate about any of those processes, so that your time is then traded for the thing that only you can do, which is make a connection.
Wow, well said. You summed it up very well. Thank you so much. And I mean, if you're not doing anything as a business owner that is leading to client acquisition, they say that you're wasting your time. At least 90% of your time should be based on that. And as you are creating that, you're connecting with people, you're building relationship, which again is the only way you can also retain your client. But thank you so much for sharing your view. Let's dive into something that is uniquely positioned, that you speak about. You built your practice around agent admin relationship, which many people underestimate. From your perspective, why is this partnership so critical to real estate business success?
It is really the ultimate definition of differences. It is the oil and water. It is where the salt water and the fresh water meet. So these are two totally different types of people that are in these positions. And so there's so many opportunity for, I don't know what you mean, or I can't believe you didn't know that, or there's just so many opportunity for not understanding each other because they're supposed to be different. So it's very classic sales and operations that don't relate to one another, right? Opposites attract, like in all kinds of relationships. So the opportunity for a symbiotic, a very yin-yang kind of understanding is a tremendously powerful relationship, but it's also completely common that they don't understand each other, that they are very different. They are best suited when they complement one another, which means that where one is strong, one is weaker, and where one is weaker, one is stronger. And so together, they make for a really powerful team. But it often requires some knitting in between to bring the relationship together. And that seems to be my gifting, is to really see the strength in the situation and then be able to show how this works well together. And then practically speaking, what are the systems underneath there that help to hold that together without a lot of effort?
Wow, thank you so much. How do you think poor team communication and unclear role definition directly impact a real estate team's ability to scale and grow revenue?
Huge. In fact, the way that I now approach my work, I've actually kind of backed into it because I first got brought into relationships with an agent and their admin because it wasn't working. And by the time they would bring me into that situation, this may be a graphic way of describing that, but I would discover that I was in oncology. Like the relationship already had cancer. Like that relationship was already at stage 4 cancer. I can't save this relationship. There's already been too much hurt, too much mistrust, too many critical comments. This relationship isn't going to make it. And then I realized, these people don't have proper training. So then I built a training program with my team. And so then we were able to train people. But then we also got to figure out, okay, they don't have proper systems in place to even have consistency. So now we have a communication issue, we have a training issue, and we have a consistency issue. Okay. And so now we built workflow, teamwork, finances. But it took us a while to see all of the depth of that, because without those 3 components of workflow, teamwork, and good finances, it is almost impossible to scale successfully.
Okay.
Because then they spend money and don't have profit, or they don't have any system, so now everything is flying off the wheels, and wheels are flying off the bus, or they don't have the right teamwork, so now they're burning out.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. You specialize in onboarding process, that critical first 90 days, according to you. Could you elaborate on what can typically go wrong, during this period, and how does that impact both teams' morale and the agent's bottom line?
So the first 90 days is often thought of by the employer, right? In our case, is the agent.
Okay.
Whether it's an employer situation or it's 2 independent contractors collaborate. It doesn't really matter which structure it has. But the person who's paying the other person usually thinks that it's going to be productive right away, and it can't happen fast enough for them to feel like they have a return on investment. Or the person who is in the support role, who is new on the job, if they are really experienced, it's actually harder for them to go through the first 90 days than if they don't know much of anything. Because if they don't know much of anything, then they're sort of learning and it's interesting and they're intrigued by what they're learning. But if they really already know their stuff and now they're in a new environment, they want to be successful quickly. And they do not like that, I don't know, where is that? Can you explain that to me again? That's very hard for a highly successful administrative professional who doesn't have a good training setup, if there aren't good systems, if there isn't strong communication, to get through the first 90 days so then they feel like a failure and they don't necessarily want to be in a place where they feel like a failure. And they may also not really want to work with someone who isn't a good manager. All right. Who isn't a good leader. And so in the 90 Days to Thrive program that I've developed with my team, it is really about what are the expectations? How are you evaluating that? What's the feedback? Do you explain what you need? What's the delegation? What's the accountability? And so then we layer those skills and work habits so that they now have a foundation to stand on together.
Well said. Thank you so much. But do you foresee, or maybe you want to share some of the biggest roadblock agents face when they try to solve these onboarding or retention challenges? Why do some of them actually struggle? Is there anything you've seen that you want to share with us?
So one thing can be that the business is too busy. If the business really has transactions happening and they need someone to literally jump in the jump rope and they don't have much time, then they really do have to hire a professional who already knows what they're doing. They don't have time for a lot of training. And so sometimes that's a mismatch about the environment and the talent and experience. Sometimes it is an agent who really doesn't want to manage. They just don't want to do what they don't want to do. And it really does require a communication and a relationship in order for that to work. If they don't want to manage, then they really should hire a professional that does a certain level of task, like a transaction coordinator, a professional marketing person, and they're responsible for very specific things, and it's highly measured. That's a better situation than having a full-time administrative person who is really trying to get in step with you, right, to be able to help you run your business, but you don't want to talk to them and you don't care what they do and you don't care about their goals.
I know.
Those are the two real roadblocks that I see that get in the way. And the admin really have to be ready for the industry because the industry really clinks and they have to like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. I notice your framework, the real estate business success formula with the 3 pillars. Just in short, in summary, maybe just walk us through what's this framework all about?
So the teamwork and workflow and finances, those 3 components are the lifeblood of infrastructure underneath the sales function for a real estate business, whether it's commercial or residential, no matter where it is in the United States in particular. But we've also done some work with people in Canada. One of my team members is in France. So, that's possible to reach out to other places. But this really is the foundation of running any business. What is the workflow? What are all the steps? Who's doing what? And is that something that's transparent and accountable? And then what's happening with your money? What money is coming in and where is it going in terms of expenses? And most importantly, perhaps for the founder, is what is the profit that you want to keep in your business so that you're also feeling and experiencing the success for all the hard work.
All right. Thank you so much for summing it up. But your Venn diagram, like you just explained, has the workflow, the teamwork, the finance. Now, when you work with new clients, which of these 3 pillars is typically the weakest? And how does that weakness manifest in their day-to-day operation?
So that is personalized depending on the strength of the person. Sometimes it's finances because salespeople often are just interested in how much money they're earning as opposed to how much money they're spending or how much money they're keeping. And, that became a pillar because unbeknownst to me in coaching some people many years ago now, I learned that 3 of my clients were in debt to the federal government IRS in triple digits. One owed $250,000, one owed $300,000, and another owed $500,000. Wow. And terrible that I had never asked that question. And so ever since then, I ask it in a consultation. I say, I'm going to ask you a question that you don't have to answer. But are you up to date with your taxes, both in city, state, and or federal? And if not, do you need some help? Because it's very difficult to run a business and try to scale and have that kind of weight of debt. But it's not hard to happen. I have lived through that in my own life as a new agent where I didn't set things up well. I didn't know what I didn't know. My debt was much smaller than that, but it still took quite a while to figure that out and get that straightened out and then set up systems. So I'm a Girl Scout now in how I set up my systems. So got all that. But I can help people with that. And otherwise, the workflow may be something that the agents just know what they do, but they've never documented it. And in teamwork, if that is their weakness, that may be that they don't like difficult conversations. They don't know how to give critical feedback, which is supportive to people. And so that's a skill that can be learned. I say to agents, if you can tell a seller that the price of their property needs to be reduced in order to sell, then you can talk to someone on your team about how one thing is working, but something else isn't, and then we'd like to help them make that change. It's the same skill applied in a different way.
Wow, thank you so much. I want to ask you, what is the scale of success that you've seen using this framework with your client? 10%, 20%, 90%?
Of how successful they are when they do this? Oh, it's very high. That's an interesting. I've never measured that in that way. But
you have to.
when clients have their systems in place and their team in place and their money in place, like the client I talked to you about who went from 30% to 60% profit within 90 days of making those changes, because it was a big financial shift in the business. So he can sleep at night is bottom line what it comes down to. Because for many agents, they wake up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, check their email. They want to make sure something got done. Oh, did somebody forget to do that task? That kind of peace of mind, it reminds me of that scene in the movie Erin Brockovich, like, what is your spine worth? Like, what is your peace of mind worth to you? That if you could have this peace of mind knowing that what needs to be done is done and you're aware of it and it's being done at a level of quality, then what is that time with your family or that peace of mind work to you, knowing that the brand you've built is consistently being implemented by the people and or the systems that have been put in place? And it doesn't have to take a long time to get that rolling.
Yeah. Okay. I want to personally ask you, your framework, does it work for any real estate industry across the world, or is just the United States of America, Canada, or like which area or have you used it before? Because I'm not sure, I know you talk about one of your clients that is in France, but maybe that's just once off. Do you actually, use this for people in other countries?
We've only used it in the United States and Canada so far. One of my team members works from France, but she's not a client, and he works with American clients. But the concept of workflow, teamwork, and finances, I would have to think in its own adaptability would be useful and successful all over the world, because it is adaptable to however the government sets up taxes or doesn't, or however the workflow is, because it doesn't say it has to be a certain way. It just says that it has to be taken into consideration.
Is this something you're open to explore other countries?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm a part of a brokerage that is international, and so working with clients all over the world. There was a client from Qatar, I think, that bought my training program a number of years ago for training a real estate assistant. So that was the most far-reaching. But absolutely, we have the ability to bring this knowledge all over the world.
All right, fantastic. So I want to ask you, where do you want to see Canbion grow in the next 12 months in terms of impact, revenue, or numbers of teams that you want to help transform?
I personally like to work with at least 15 teams a month. That's a sweet spot for me in working, because it's an in-depth relationship with those clients. And then because we have online materials that can be self-guided and self-directed, I would love to be able to impact at least 100 teams, if not right in the next 10 years, going to 1,000 teams. Because it's online, we have the ability to help hundreds or thousands a day, a week, a month, because we're on a platform to be able to do that. But the more peace of mind and support we can give to single agents, small teams, and brokerages, the better, to bring the success we've experienced to their lives.
All right, 15 a month is a good number, but for us to get a percentage, how many are you working with currently?
I currently work with 12. And so to have a few more clients in my regular schedule every month. But some clients stay for several months. Some clients stay for several years. My longest standing client's been with me 11 years.
Wow, fantastic. I think you're doing pretty good, and there's always room for improvement. And I think you could achieve that. I think especially when you're also looking at going overseas, international, I think that's where you definitely will have some other big successes coming through, especially if your framework is not really, available to them. And I think it's something they will be open to. Okay, I want to ask you, yeah, if you have the opportunity, which you do right now, to give a piece of advice to anyone in the real estate, another real estate coach or business owners who is facing some problems that your framework could solve, what will your advice be?
First is to know what you want. What is it that you really want to achieve, and what is the quality of experience that you want to have? From there, we can set up and structure for some agents, right? So they want to do 100 transactions a year. You need to know why you want to get there, because that's a lot of work, but it can be done. I want 15 clients because volume for my personal coaching life is not my objective. I love to roll my sleeves up and work deeply with people. And so for some agents or business owners or brokers, they may want to have a brokerage of 15 agents or 30, but they want them to do well. They want them to sell at least 24 sales a year. And so then what is that quality that you want? And then we build from there. Let's not just build for an idea that you think you want. Let's make sure we are really matching what you want to achieve and the quality of experience you want to have.
Wow, thank you so much. I believe our audience definitely will take your advice.
No.
And I think, but giving the advice is one, and somebody may think, yeah, I think I hear what she's saying, but how do I actually benefit from our framework? So therefore, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to connect with you after listening, watching the podcast, and they feel like your framework is the thing they've been looking for, that's the missing link, how can they get in touch with you?
So Kathleen@cambium.com is my email address. And my phone number for talk and text is 802-546-1303. Cambium, spelled like my name on the screen.com is the website. And we have an assessment that people can take to evaluate where are you strong, where do you feel strong, where do you feel weak in how your business is run, to help people. And then I'm happy to do a free consultation and then make a proposal for where we can help you go from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Kathleen. And we really do appreciate you for sharing your insight with us today. I believe our audience will definitely benefit a lot from you, especially your framework. I mean, it looks so simple and, so like 3 things you talk about. But if you don't pay attention to those 3 things and how they are connected together to achieve the success you're looking for, it can be as simple as that, and yet you're still running around, So definitely, I think the way you sum it up and the way you put it together, it's really and I think my own advice would be for any real estate agent out there to get in touch with you as soon as possible to be able to see how they could be able to achieve this. But one last thing I want to ask you is, do you think this could be appropriate or could be used in other industry, even though that's not your area?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Business, and starting as a small business, but any business needs to know what is their workflow, who's going to do what, how does that hold accountable, and then how did that impact revenue, expense, and profit, so that you're really looking at those 3 components. And the circle around our framework is leadership. So then how are you leading your business to be able to achieve what is most important to you? Because ultimately it's your life and your business as the founder. And so what's important to you, and how can we set it up so that, yes, it works for the clients, and yes, it works for the people on your team, but does it also work for you? Because that's why you started it.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through. And we wish you all the best in your future endeavor. And Let's stay in touch. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you, Emmanuel Vesperton.
You didn't quit your day job to become a full-time admin assistant. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, we know you didn't start your business to spend 60 hours a week on paperwork, chasing leads, and managing endless admin tasks. You started it to build something meaningful and serve your clients. But right now, you're trapped in the day-to-day grind instead of growing your business. What if I told you our clients are reclaiming 15, 20 hours per week, increasing their revenue by 30 to 50% within 6, 12 months, and finally getting their lives back? We don't just automate random tasks. We build custom AI systems that eliminate the bottlenecks choking your growth, from leads generation to lead, nurturing and management to project management to client follow-ups. Stop paying for an expensive, frustrating manual system. It's time to upgrade to strategic automation. Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free business transformation strategy call today. Discover exactly how much time and money you're losing to manual processes and how to get both back. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Intelligence Forge, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode packed with game-changing insights. Your future automated business is waiting.